Green Bay Packers, Billy. Speaking of winning, the Bucs are the winners of 2 straight. The Green Bay Packers just lost to Tommy DeVito, Mr. Cold Cuts himself, Mr. Chicken Cutlets over here. And now this is interesting. This is such an interesting matchup to me, Billy, right? I was
Yeah.
thinking about this the past couple of days. Doesn't these seem like two teams that are way more similar than people want to give credit for, right? Let's kind of break it down for me, okay? Is Jordan Love the guy for the Packers? Is he not the guy? Is Baker Mayfield the guy for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? Is he not the guy? Both of them have some pieces on defense. Both of them have some pieces on offense here and there. Both of them are at 6-7 and have been struggling this year, but I think in some ways, Billy, have been teams that have exceeded expectations, right? I
Yeah.
think people thought that the transition from Aaron Rodgers to Jordan Love would be awful. I think people thought that the transition from Tom Brady to Baker Mayfield would be awful. By the way, they're both teams that literally just lost their goats. So this is, again, two pretty similar teams right now in terms of where they're at their season at a crossroads, where they're at in terms of scrapping, trying to fight for playoff chances and whatnot. And just have a lot of similar makeups as to what they are doing right now in
Yeah.
terms of franchises. It is interesting. And I think both teams, again, a lot of people thought that I think a lot of people thought that both the Packers and the Bucs would probably not be 6-7 right now. Maybe the Packers, but not the Bucs. A lot of people thought the Bucs would be having 3 wins right now, half as
Yes.
many right now.
Yes.
And it's just an interesting matchup where it's almost like the Bucs are looking in the mirror. Would you agree with that or would you disagree?
You make some good points. They also have a lot. It's a young team, right? Both teams are young teams, kind of growing together, sort of. I like kind of where you're coming from. I didn't like it at first, but you persuaded me a
You're
little
not
bit, James.
100% on board with it though.
There are some similarities for sure. I would agree. I think the
Todd
gaping.
Bowles is the next Matt Eber. I don't know what to tell you.
That's actually you took the right out of my mouth, James. The gaping chasm I think between the two is I feel like Packer fans may be a little bit more confident in their head coach than Bucks fans are in theirs, but there are definitely similarities with the roster and the current state of where the team is going versus where they came from. So you make good points. I'll give it to you. Well done.
We'll take that. We'll take that. But no, it is an interesting matchup, Billy. And the Packers, apparently a lot of people have been just straight up dissing this Packers defense, which has been very interesting. They're saying they have a terrible, which we talked about Rashad White earlier in this live stream. The Packers have a pretty bad run defense, Billy. Pretty bad. Some people are saying it's one of the worst in the league's passing offense or the passing defense. I guess you should say you have Jair Alexander there. He's just an absolute beast of a human being. You have some other good pieces in there as well. But, again, this is a Packers team that is the most vulnerable it's been in a long time, Billy. What are kind of your thoughts on this game and how the Bucs match up against the Packers?
Yeah, you teed it up perfectly. The Packers have, I believe, second worst rush defense in the league this year in terms of yardage given up. And the Buccaneers, we talked about it earlier. They want nothing more than to hand the ball to Rashad White 25 times. So I would expect a healthy dose of Rashad White and then a nice, tablespoon of Chase Edmonds on top. I think that the Bucs know the Packers not stopping the run too well and coming off of the hot streak of games that they have been on running the football they're going to try to run it. I also think something interesting you notice with the Bucs is when they're running the football. I think it we praise Baker a lot here, but we know that Baker is not like this elite guy. When the run game's clicking, Baker Mayfield is going to be more fluid and going to be more in sync. And I realized last week he was far from brilliant, but a flawless game in terms of turnovers. He plays a safe, nice game, right? Gives you 3 touchdowns, 2 through the air, 1 on the ground, and no mistakes, including a game winner. So I feel like when the Bucs are playing that way, that's when they're going to be their most efficient and their most rock solid on offense, and they know that. So they're going to try to lean into their strength over the last few weeks and the Packers' biggest weakness. And for the Green Bay Packers, they got to know that too. So you would expect that that's going to be something that they're keyed in on. It'd be nice to see the Bucs take advantage of that and hit some play action passes. I am craving some play action, move the pocket, get Baker Mayfield looking at half the field, give him a touchdown to a check down read, something simple where he's got an option to take it deep. If it's not there, dump it off short, and let's keep the drive moving. I love plays like that off of a solid run game, which the Bucs have kind of flexed these last couple games. So now take advantage of that run game and use it to help the passing game a little more than they're currently doing.
Yeah, I think that this is a team in the Packers where look, at the end of the day, regardless of the record, I still think the Packers are a decent team, right? I still think that. And I think that this is a team where you may have to get creative. You may have to do some things differently. You may have to really open up the bag, so to speak, and pull out some things you have not yet done so, because the Packers are a team that, hey, if you give them some chances, if you make too many mistakes, they're going to capitalize and they're going to beat you, right? Um Bucks played a pretty sound game last week in terms of not making mistakes. That's going to be huge, and we're going to need to see more creativity. We're going to need to see more Rashad White, which we're always down to see. And it's going to be an interesting matchup, man. It really is.
I feel like the Packers last week, right? They're a young team, and young teams are prone to, some silliness and some mistakes. Losing to, Tommy Cutlets, is that what you called him?
Yeah.
Tommy Cutlets, Tommy DeVito. Losing to him, I feel like that's a kind of a trap game for them. And that's no disrespect to the Giants, but the Packers are riding high. And I feel like a young team could sniff themselves, start to feel like, yeah, all we got to do is show up and we're going to pull this out against the Giants. Come on. Right. And that's when you get those trap games. So I don't expect the Bucs to get anything less than the Packers' best this week because they just had that trap game. So that's when a young team gets ultra focused after that trap game, especially if they have a solid, reliable, tenured coach like LaFleur. So I would expect the Bucs to get the Packers' best, and it should be because the teams are mirror images of each other, James. It should be, a pretty good game, all things being equal.
Yeah, I agree. So ultimately, we'll see how the Tampa Bay Buccaneers do against Green Bay Packers. Should be a fun one, but also this is a not an easy matchup for the Bucs. But hey,
You mentioned Jair. Jair had a good game against the Bucs in the NFC Championship game. He could put 2 picks.
it's true. And the Bucs
Top.
don't have Scotty Miller anymore. So deep pass to Trey Palmer. Let's see it. Devin Tompkins, get him out there. We'll see, but no, this should be a difficult, but still at the end of the day, fun matchup for the Bucs.